Hey everybody, welcome to the next tutorial. We are looking at the assembly of the 3D interchangeable Mickey Mouse stained glass headbands. Wow, that is a mouthful. And so what you are going to be doing is taking your printed pieces, and I am doing the half files, as you can see are working right now. We are going to take that, we are going to add our transparency in there to completely glue that together. I'll take you through the whole thing. We're going to talk about adding magnets into there and the tricks that I have learned over the time to get those in there. We are also going to be talking about adding magnets into the headband connectors. We are going to be talking about mounting those connectors to the actual headband. There's a lot that is going to be covered in this, and I hope you are ready. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's begin looking at the magnets for the hairbands. So what you are going to end up with in the end is a piece that looks like this, where you slip the magnets in, and these are the magnets that I will have listed, the ones that I got, 8x3. But anyhow, I'm going to go over the easiest way that I found to put these in, and the biggest things that you need to know going into this so you don't mess up the connections going on. So you know about the poles of magnets. They either attract each other or they do not, okay? They push away. It's very important when you go to put these together that they will attract each other. So what I do is once you have one made, you can let it dry, keep it over to the side, just as a little helper for you to know which side of the magnet you need to be putting on. So since this one will stick like this, I need to make sure that this side of the magnet is the one that I push into here. So I'm going to go ahead, take my glue, give it a little shake. This you do not need a ton of, so I'm just going to take a little bit, put a little dab in here, and I'll put one in top just to make it a little faster. And then I'm going to go ahead, check that I have it right. Oop, nope. Yes. And then I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to push it in. I did find that it is easiest to have the whole stack, or a good stack, so you can hold on to it. So what I did, just so you could see, I pushed it in until it was flat, and then what I did was I just took it and I slid it off the side, and then just double check to make sure it's nice and flush, and then you can move on to the next one. Just be careful if you're not wearing gloves to make sure you're not putting your fingers in the super glue for obvious reasons. All right. So here we go, just double check. All right, perfect, just what I thought. Put it in, push down, slide across, and then it's done. Now you are going to go ahead and repeat that. I'll put these over here just so I know which one's wet and which one's dry. You're going to go ahead and repeat that for however many headbands you are going to want to do. Once again, put your dot in. I usually do the first two because that gives me a nice place to hold. You're going to grab, slide, push in, slide. And as long as all your tolerances are good, on your printer, then this should be a really easy process for you. Okay? All right, so I'll just finish the last one so you can see that. Go ahead, a little drop of glue in there, nothing crazy. Double check, nope, wrong. So flip it, that's what I want. And then put it on and slide off. Do your best to make sure that these magnets don't go slapping together, because they will crack and break. Also, try to do your best to make sure you do not get super glue on any of the other magnets, or you're going to lose them because they will super glue themselves together. All right, so that is it. Recommend like a little fan or something along those lines just to help them dry. I'll talk about that in another piece of this as well. So go ahead, you're going to end up with all of your headband pieces that you need, and we will talk about gluing these onto the headband. All right, we're going to get started on the headbands. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I have a 6-inch box here. It just happened to be the box from the fan that I am using to help dry the super glue and get it to set. So I have a 6-inch box here, and then I'm going to line up the headbands as they go down. You're going to need your magnetic pieces. So I am going to have a couple here. It does help to have one that does not have magnets in it yet, just so you're not fighting it. Unfortunately, at this point, I do not have one that does not have magnets. So if you are to that point and you still have one left over, then you're going to be having a little extra luck today. So just double check to make sure that they are all working for you. You don't want to put on one that's not working. And by working, I mean that they are attaching each other nicely to the backs of one another. That shows that all the magnets are in the right order. So what you're going to do, you are going to put the headband on the box so that way it is equal on both sides. I found a good placement for these is actually right in between. So if you use one right in the middle, so just try to find your middlemost point. So lining, this looks to be right about it. If you want, you can make a little mark. I'm choosing not to make the mark and wing it just because that's my life. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how it kind of goes. So you will not glue this top one. You're just using that to get a nice equal spacing. And then it's totally up to you how you do it. If you want to kind of roll it back a little bit like that and try to hold this up on top, then go that route when you go to put the glue on. I have tried putting the glue on right on the side and then quickly putting it. What I found was that depending on the hairband, it will start running down, and that did not work out well for me. So what I'm going to do, just making sure everything's lined up again, what I'm going to do is put that one right in the center where I need it, and then I'll put the glue down here and then line it up as even as possible, looking for spacing in between here and spacing up top. So try to get it as even as possible, and then you're going to hold it in place for like 30 seconds or whatever your glue says, and then move over to the next side. All right, so here we go. Let me get this out of the way. I'm going to put a nice amount here. If you head towards the middle, that actually helps it with a little bit of, gives it a little bit of leeway for flexing, since this will be flexing. It won't pull as much of the fabric. So I have that right in the center there. I have this lined up, just double checking. Measure twice, cut once, right? Have it right in the center. All right, now doing a quick flip over so I don't let it run down. Everything's nice and even. 3 fingers across, try to put one on each magnet. That way you have nice even coverage. If you have a fan, you can turn that on. Not that it's going to do too much at this point, but you can do that. So I'm going to hold this down for 30 seconds. All right, and that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is just take a look at it, make sure I have, if you have different color, like slightly different color filaments, just make sure you have the same color. And then you're going to go on and do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'll show you just because I can. Once again, make sure it's lined up nice and neat. put it towards the center. All right. Double check your placement. I'm holding the top and I'm flipping and putting on, lining it up. Double checking the bottom, which moved over just a little bit. Boy, that attaches fast. And then holding all 3 magnets for 30 seconds. All right, and there you go. That is how you do it. The spacing seems to turn out well. Use one of these as a spacer. Get it as close to the center as possible, and you can do that by making sure the bottoms of these are equal, and then just pick the center point. You can also do a measuring tape if you want to be super exact, but if somebody's looking that close, then you have bigger problems anyway. All right, so use this as a spacer, put these on, try to get it as equal on either side as possible. Make sure you're using the same color. Don't forget to double check the magnets, making sure that they are all sitting back to back, so that way they are all going to attach properly. I recommend starting with some of the colors that your kids will probably not choose, just in case you make a mistake, like, I don't know, dribbling down a bunch of super glue there. Everybody makes mistakes, and then just get in for it. So 10 more of these to go, and I will see you in the next segment. All right, guys, welcome back. So in this segment, what we are going to be doing is getting to our final step of having everything put together. So you're going to need your 3D materials, anything that you printed. You're going to need your transparencies that you have sealed off. You are also going to need super glue. So use your super glue of choice, whichever one you would like. You're also going to need possibly a lighter if you would like that. A hair dryer helps. Needle nose pliers are always good as well. And I recommend a cookie sheet and a fan of some sort just to keep air moving. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Also, if you have any of these left over, your headbands, magnets, these come in really handy and become a tool for you. The last thing that you will definitely need is magnets. So I think I covered everything. If not, I'll throw it in the meantime. So in the end of this, what you're going to end up with is a complete 3D stained glass Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse headband ear that has magnets mounted and everything. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get ourselves started. I'm going to take you through the process with a couple different ones, and I'm going to start off. I have the Cinderella 3D printed, and I will take you through that. So what I have found to be the best method is to keep everything spread out. The bottom, so if you look at this, you can see the grooves. You want to keep the groove openings up at the top, so that way you can sandwich it. It's like building a peanut butter and jelly. You want to have it prepped so you can butter and jelly both sides and slap it together. You want everything in its place. So you can choose your glue of choice. I'm using some knockoff Loctite, but it actually has really good reviews, and I've used it for many 3D printing projects. So this is what I'm using. You're going to create a bead around. I've done it a couple different ways. I've kind of drug it across. That worked well. You don't want to go super duper heavy. I'm going to put it down. It's actually a lot easier. You don't want to go super duper heavy because it will start leaking out on your transparency. So what I'm doing right now, you probably can't see too well. I'm just putting dots around the outside. I'll stop there and bring it up so you can see. Just dots around the outside, spread out. All right, put the cap on that. Now you're taking your transparency, make sure you have it the way that you need it. I bend mine kind of like a taco by grabbing the top ends, and try not to touch this up too much. So grab it by the top ends just to kind of bend it, so that way you're only putting this down on the glued side, and you're going to line up the middle. So find a piece in your thing, try to get it as close as possible. Ooh, this is really sticky now that I took some time explaining. All right, so there we go. So what I did was I took my, can't do two things at once. I took my 3D print and I used the black lines on the stained glass transparency to line everything up nice and even. Now I'm going to go around, and you don't have to push it down too tight or anything. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to redot with some glues right around the edge. And this is to grab onto the top. Okay, some dots around. All right, let's get a dot there just so it holds on. All right, now what I recommend, I found best for this, is really line up this side as you're going down, kind of go down like this. So down with this, line up this edge, and then place down. That's what I found worked out best. And everything kind of falls in. Once you have a corner that looks good, kind of put your finger down just to hold it. All right. And now apply your pressure. Now if you have your fan, turn that on, and then have that blowing right on your project. Hold this down for about 30 seconds. Now, while I'm holding it down for 30 seconds, I'll explain a little bit about the cookie sheet and the fan. So the cookie sheet and the fan is to allow ventilation for the glue. I found out the hard way, and I'll show you an example once I'm done. I found out the hard way that if you think this is great, put it on some cardboard, put a box or something heavy on top to hold this down, that's going to be awesome. Well, it turns out when you use your super glue, part of that curing process, it off gases. And when it is off gassing, it's going and not ventilated, it's going to be seeking out any moisture. And what happens is the off gassing actually creates like a white or like almost glue residue on it. And I could get into the whole scientific part behind it, but honestly, I don't know. But I know it comes out ugly. So you have to redo it. So what I found was using a, I call it like a cooling tray or a cookie sheet cooling tray, something like that. So you'll have that and just a fan just to keep it blowing. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my needle nosed pliers, just kind of move this over to the side, rearrange with the fan to just keep blowing on that, just to keep the air moving so you don't get that glue residue. And I'll show you what that looked like. So, super excited for my baby Yoda, but take a look at that. Look at it. It latched onto all of my fingerprints in there. That was me trying to get rid of it. Didn't work out. Look how bad that looks, and that is literally just because I had put it down on cardboard and I put something heavy on top of it, and it sealed in all of that off-gassing air. So this was using the cookie sheet method, and you can see how nice and clear it came out comparatively, right? Okay, so it seems like a nonsense added step, but it makes a huge difference. So now that that's still going, the last thing I want to show you is one of the other pieces. I just want to explain it because after this process, you have it all glued. The next step, if you would want, is to add a diffuser to the back. And all this is one layer of transparent filament. And I have a powder coated steel sheet on my 3D printer. Sorry, my brain turned off. I had a powder coated steel sheet on my printer, so it gives a really nice kind of speckled look to it, which comes out really cool. If you don't have it, you'll probably just get some lines and hashing, which still looks pretty cool. This is the top end of it. So why I have printed those out, take a look. This looks pretty awesome, but when you take it, you put the diffuser back behind, it really pops it out. So you can really tell a clear difference. Now, the only part about this that I don't like is it makes it one-sided. So if I put it like this, and you can tell more for other princesses, it kind of makes it so it's only able to be shown on one side. It can't be flipped over to the other side. So that's one thing that I kind of noticed about it that I didn't really like. And it doesn't happen for all of them. So like for Daisy, if I put her on the other side, it wouldn't work out well for me, right? So that's why I decided not to put it on all of mine. But you can tell it really does make a nice difference. And that's just that 3D diffuser, or the 3D printed diffuser. And that file is in there. All right, so I talked enough. I'm gonna let that go. Now, once everything is dry, I have a few examples here. So I have my Elsa here. Once these are all dry, the next step is adding the magnets. This is where this tool comes in handy. So this is the magnet piece for your headband. Same piece. I'm going to take a stack of magnets and put it on. Remember how we talked in the headband piece where you want to make sure that these magnets are all facing the same way? It's very important for these as well. So not only is this a tool to help you grab onto the magnets and push them on, but it's also a great tool to always make sure that you are putting the magnets in the right way. Now, when you're going to put these in, they have to go into this hole, and you have to do it where you're not breaking the seal again. Some of them fit right in, so this actually is going in pretty close, but I want it all the way down to the bottom. Same thing with this. That one actually is really good too. So this one I would just use glue to really push in. Now, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. You can take, so you can take a hair dryer and you can go along and just kind of heat this up, not too much, but it will help make it a little more flexible. The only thing is, you're heating up everything over here. So you're heating up all of these little pieces, which if you touch it when they're heated up, it's gonna bend. You're heating up the transparency. So this, it's not my tool of choice. I went to an old 3D printing trick. So the trick is a lighter. All right, now be very careful with your lighters. Obviously, if you overheat, you're gonna melt something, you're gonna mess something up, and you're creating liquid plastic pretty much that will attach onto your skin and really hurt. I don't suggest it. All right, so follow along and really be careful, because not only could you really hurt yourself with this, you can also overheat, mess up this. Also, you could overheat and render
magnets useless. Did you notice these dead magnets underneath? Okay, that's because in the beginning as I was doing it, I found out that if I overheated this, it would end up making the magnets useless. Now, I'm going to take you through and I'm going to show you the heating method, because I think you can pretty much figure out if it fits in. You put a little bit of glue in there and then you just put it in and slide it off, right? I think you can figure that part out, how to put a magnet in a hole. However, if the hole is messed up, that's where you need the help. So there's 3 holes for 3 magnets. So when I usually do my lighting, I try to light underneath 3 of them, all right? So I'm going to hold my lighter and I'm going to light up 3 of them, okay? And that's actually all I need. Start with minimal and then go from there. Now I'm going to take the tool and I'm going to slowly rotate. Once it's in, slide. Slowly rotate. Once it's in, slide. All right, now you see that came up a little bit. So I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and just push. All right, now you'll see that these things go in there pretty solid. This one actually is wiggly, so I'm pulling that one out. And I'm going to put a little dab of glue in there and then light up and put it in, all right? And I did that one because it was a little wiggly, which means that I probably don't need to heat it up to get it in. So a little dab of glue, going to take my next one, push it in, and slide across. Whoa. And slide across. All right. What's going on here? They glued themselves together. All right. So you can see that this process doesn't always go as you would hope it would go. All right, so I'm pulling that off. Get back here. I'll take you back. All right. So let's try that again. All right. So putting my glue back in just to make sure I'm good. And I hope you have a good laugh at this. Here we go. At least it humanizes everything. So put it in. There, it's fitting nice. And then slide across. All right, so it's a little loose there. So I'll take the corner of one of these and just give it a good push in just to make sure it's solid. All right, this one ended up, it looked like it would slide right in too. So I'll put a little bit of glue in there just to make sure. I'm sorry if that's really close. And then I'll heat this up just a little and put it in. Perfect. And slide it across and out. All right, use the corner just to make sure it's all the way in there. Perfect. All right, so one done. Now I'm going to try to do the rest of them. The next one sitting down. We'll just make it a little easier. All right, keep using these magnets because they already were heated. I'm just going to see how this is. Yeah, it looks like pretty much all of them but that one. Now as you are melting these, all right, as you're heating these up and putting them in, it is melting the plastic in there to the magnet. So you'll probably be able to smell that, but the nice part is you don't need glue to go along with it as long as it gets a good melt. All right, here we go. And last one there, done. All right, so much easier just sitting down and doing it. I'll put that over to the side there because these are still hot, so just keep an eye on them. They're still hot. All right, so you saw the process of getting these on there. It really does go super fast. I'll just put this over to the side. You can see I have a stack here of ones that I put on. So it does go super fast as you're making your way through. This takes you through the entire process of putting these together. If you chose to put any of these diffusers on the back, all I did was put a ring of glue around the outside. For some of them, in the beginning, I tried with the dots around, but you could actually see all the dots. So that's why I went with a nice line to make it look a little more uniform. And the diffuser, the purpose of it is to show a nice clear behind. Anything with a white would be good for it. Alright, so that's everything that you need to know. Don't forget about your fan, the cookie sheet, just to keep the air moving so you don't get all of the fingerprints. If you do get the fingerprints, that's the only thing you need to fix to get them nice and clear. All my files that I have, you'll find links to them in the description. They're all free for you to use. I do not claim any credits to any of the photos. You saw how I did them, so it is literally just there if you want to use it to save you time, and no money exchange, all of that good stuff. I think that's it. So we talked about making these all. We talked about the transparencies, printing those out. We talked about, or we showed that you had the files that you needed to use for this. Told you about the materials, the magnets, all the links to all the materials that I use, like the magnets. Those will be in the description as well for you. Also with the headbands, we went through how to put magnets on all of the headbands. And I think that's it. So I hope you come out with some awesome looking ones. Feel free to send me some of the ones that you did. If you have one that you created that you want to share or add up to the description or something like that, throw it in the comments below so that way more people can get to them. And enjoy your interchanging Mickey headbands. I might do a new video on how to do the bows. So if that's not in, then I have not done that yet, but I'm thinking about it. And I'll give you a little sneak peek. What I'm planning on doing is making a little 3D print here that will hold a magnet at kind of a little angle there, and then that will have a magnet attached to the bow, and now you have interchanging bows for the headbands as well. The only weak part that I want to warn you with, kids, if you're still listening to my ramble, the only weak part that I want you to, here, let's do one that I didn't just do. All right, the weak part that I noticed was that these stay on really well going up and down. However, going side to side, this gets pretty loose. So if they're, I don't know, vigorously nodding or something like that, they might come off. So just keep that in mind if you're going with for a younger child. They are pretty loose going this way. I might look for a clip that will go on either side just to add a little more bending, but I don't have a lot of time before my Disney trip. So good luck. Hit me up in the comments, subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys later in the comments. Thank you very much.